144 sex offenders in a 2-mile radius. Let's talk about it. So in a little small town, about 30, 40 minutes north of New Orleans, there's a place called Lacombe, Louisiana. And in this small town of about 9,000 people or so, there are transitional housing or transitional rehabilitational programs set up for sex offenders to go and rehabilitate or get themselves assimilated back into society. And in this area, of course, there are children and families who reside within the same vicinity of the 144 sex offenders. Can you imagine living in a small city of about 9,000 plus people and having 144 sex offenders walking around and living near you on a day-to-day basis? And most of them that you were coming in contact with, you had no idea that they were sex offenders. And maybe on a day-to-day basis, they were interacting with you and your children. That's a scary thought. But that's the reality of this small town in Louisiana. So just recently, a woman was minding her business, doing her laundry. I've been there before. Me and my wife used to have to go to the laundromat to do our laundry. And I remember it was a time where, we didn't have a wash and dryer. So we had to go and put the quarters in the machines and wash and do our clothes. And sometimes the areas we went in were sketchy, but for the most part, the washer and dryer places that we went to or the laundromats that we went to seemed safe enough to where we were able to do our laundry without being bothered or having to worry about anything crazy happening. But we never could imagine that while we were doing our laundry, or I couldn't imagine while my wife was doing her laundry, that she would be attacked by a sex offender. And I'm certain that that's what this woman was thinking on this particular day. So this is the story, and I'm going to read it. It's straight from the news channel WWL. And the article says, woman fatally stabs convicted sex offender who tried to attack her at laundromat. Police said the 40-year-old, twice convicted, that's right, this guy was convicted twice of sex offense, as you'll see. Sex offender had been released from prison in December of 2023 after serving times for his crimes. The incident occurred around 3:30 p.m. That's right, 3:30 p.m. This ain't 3:30 a.m. This sex offender tried to attack and strike this lady at 3:30 during the daytime while she's doing her laundry. He saw an opportunity and he pounced on it. So it was on a Sunday afternoon in 2800 block of US Highway 190 in Louisiana. The sheriff's office said the man, who was identified as 40-year-old Nicholas Trenchant, that's right, Nicholas Trenchant, you can look him up, had been convicted twice. That's right, I said already twice, 2003 and 2008 on sex crimes. According to the sheriff's office, Trenchant was convicted in 2003 for indecent behavior with juveniles. Now, according to what I'm reading, he was convicted for indecent behavior with juveniles in 2003. Juveniles with an S. I don't know the whole story. I didn't read the minutes on his transcripts, but I see the word juveniles has an S on it. So that means he had indecent exposure, indecent behavior with multiple juveniles. That means children under the age of 18. I don't know if they were 14. I don't know if they were 12. I have no idea. But no matter what age they were, it was inappropriate and wrong and vile, and he deserved to go to prison. He probably, depending on what happened, should have been in prison for the rest of his life, because sex offenses are brutal, and you just can't take a chance of having innocent people harmed. And I know that some sex offenders, probably the minority of them, a small amount of them, actually go on to change their lives, but most of them struggle the rest of their lives with wanting to commit these crimes over and over again, as we'll see with this guy, Nicholas Trenchant. So in 2008, this is after being convicted of, indecent behavior with juveniles. In 2008, after he must have got out of prison, off parole or whatever, he was convicted for attempted aggravated violation. Now, I did another video previously, but I had to delete it because I used the R word. So instead of using the R word, we're going to use violate, right? So he was convicted for attempted aggravated violation and aggravated burglary. That means he broke into somebody's house with the attempt to violate them, this woman or whoever it was in this house. And he was convicted of that again. So now this dude got 2 felony convictions. One for indecent behavior with juveniles, and now another one for aggravated or attempted aggravated violation of a woman. Goes back to prison. gets out. This is in 2008, gets out in 2023. And in 2024 strikes again. This lady's doing her laundry, minding her business, trying to take care of her life. Life is probably already hard for her. She's probably got a bunch of things weighing down on her mind. And if you had a laundromat, that means you're getting by and you're doing what you need to do, trying to be responsible. Probably thinking about how rough and tough life is. But she wasn't thinking about being stalked. At 3:30 during the day, a sex offender who was just recently released was stalking this woman like a lion in the jungle stalks an antelope or a wildebeest. He was looking to make a victim out of somebody, and he happened to see an opportunity. A lone woman in a laundromat. What does this say? You need to be aware all the time. You think she knew that there was 144 convicted sex offenders in a 2-mile radius? Do you think that she knew that there was 144 sex offenders living in her city? Go look and see who's living in your neighborhood. Be aware. That don't mean you got to go, with a witch hunt and go kicking down their door and burning. You are going to become a criminal then. But you need to be aware who's around you and what's going on. Now, what happens next is he goes in there during the day with the intent that he's going to violate this woman. But he didn't expect this woman to fight back. So he went in there, I'm just assuming, with the knife saying, hey, let me get it, get down. I'm going to make a victim out of you. And she said, no. And she took the knife from him, I'm assuming in a struggle. Or maybe he wasn't fully committed to killing her. Maybe this was going to be the first time he killed somebody because he's not convicted of murder nowhere else. But he definitely wanted to violate her. She just wasn't having it. And thank God she had the audacity to fight back. And she won. A lot of instances, women don't win. They lose. But in this instance, she got the knife from him. A fight ensued, a struggle. I'm sure injuries were, according to the article, both sides received injuries. The cops called. They both went to the hospital, and he succumbed to his injuries. Nicholas Trenchant, the convicted sex offender who was trying to make another victim, was killed. He died the way he lived, like an animal. That's right. He died like an animal, and he died being a bad person. And he left other victims too. He made a new victim in this woman, not counting the other victims he had. He made a victim out of his mother, because I read an article about his mother where she went and fought for him, saying that he was going to change. I'm sure he convinced people on a parole board and other people that he was going to change. Something I've learned about sex offenders, they struggle to change. Often, they fail over and over again. Now, can a sex offender be successful at not reoffending? Sure, but they're the minority. And it's a difficult path for them. I believe as a Christian, and that's what I am, everybody got their own beliefs, but I believe that if you soul search and you really do business with God, then you could be redeemed. And I believe as a society, we should forgive people, but we should never be complacent. The law should always keep an eye on sex offenders. There should be a checks and balances. And in this small city in Lacombe, like I said, that's about 40 minutes north of New Orleans, that has so many sex offenders, because this small city is known to have rehabilitative housing, transitional housing for sex offenders who are released from prison. They go to this particular small community town and they're put in the midst of everyday people who are just trying to struggle and make a living for themselves. This isn't no booming, rich, big town. It's in a booming, rich parish, St. Tammany Parish. St. Tammany Parish is by no means one of the worst, but probably it may be, hard to believe, as much as Louisiana is at the bottom of a lot of, polls when it comes to economics and all kind of other things and jobs and probably a lot of other things wherever it falls on the board. St. Tammany Parish is probably on the top of the country's, I would assume, for school and for wealth. It's a very wealthy area, per capita. People in St. Tammany Parish, by and large, are doing good. Are there poor areas in St. Tammany Parish? Sure. But there's a lot of wealthy areas in St. Tammany Parish, too. But Lacombe happens to be one of those small, poor areas where I'm sure the people ain't got no say-so on the rehabilitative housing that's placed in their neighborhood. Bet they don't put those those same places in no rich neighborhoods or wealthy neighborhoods because the people ain't going to have that. But the ignorance often of the uneducated falls into them not having no say-so. And now they have sex offenders everywhere. And the state needs to do a better job of vetting these sex offenders and putting 24-hour security, armed security. Yes, you need armed security when you're dealing with sex offenders. Dude went in a laundromat in broad daylight with a knife and tried to make a victim out of a woman. He tried to violate her, was going to violate her. Now he's dead. Now she has to live with that. You know, if I was somewhere and I had to kill a sex offender, you know what I mean? I'm probably not going to lose no sleep. But not everybody's built the same. She's probably going to think about that and struggle the rest of her life, maybe. I don't know. But this dude, if you ask me, did he get what he deserved? Absolutely. Is the world a better place because he's dead? Certainly. Do I believe in forgiveness? Yes. But do I believe in being a fool and unaware? No, that's stupid. We need to be aware of who's around us and what's going on. Wake up, people. Ain't nothing wrong with armed security to protect you and your children, to protect your society, to keep animals at bay. Man, this dude's worse than an animal. It's better off in Louisiana to be dealing with alligators, bears, and cougars than it is to be dealing with a sex offender or human animal. And we talking about sex offenders. We ain't talking about everybody else because this is a crime and incarceration channel, and I've done my time in prison. And I know sex offenders are low down and they manipulative in general. Even in prison, they used to trick the officers into thinking that they were victims inside the jail. That's right. A lot of the officers who probably got kids end up taking up for these sex offenders in jail. I've seen it too many times. Now, some of them don't. Some of the officers are what I would call, they hardcore. You know, they about it. They don't care about them dudes. They're going to throw them in there to get beat up. But some of them get manipulated and defending these sex offenders over everyday convicts, you know, thugs, gangsters. You know, the thing is the reality, these sex offenders go inside prison and they stew on what's the next crime they're going to commit. And if they got a crime that involves children, they planning even more, man, because that's some sick stuff in your head that they got to deal with. And the prisons really ain't built to help these dudes. They need to castrate all of them, honestly, because that's probably the only solution. What do you do as a society to defend the innocent? Remember, society should always defend the innocent first and foremost. Rehabilitation comes after justice. And I believe in rehabilitation because I'm a rehabilitated convict. I did my time. I'm a contributor to society now. I get it. I don't hide from my past. My past made me the man I am today. But I can tell you one thing. Sex offenders got a hard road to travel because they got something not just deep in their mind, but deep in their soul that's haunting them and making them go into laundromats at midday to try to violate somebody. What say you? Did Nicholas Trenchant, the convicted sex offender who tried to violate an innocent person, get what he deserved? Put it in the comments below. You know what? While you're at it, give me a like and subscribe to this new channel, Southern Crime and Incarceration, where I talk about all things crime and incarcerated related. And we get into some stuff. You know, hey, I'm a small channel just starting off, trying to figure out this computer thing. Like I said, an ex-convict. Trying to figure out technology too. I've been home for some time and I'm trying to do a positive thing. Trying to do positive things. Give me a like and subscribe. And thanks for watching Southern Crime and Incarceration. What say you? Share your thoughts and opinions.